the endurance level. I want to see how long they can keep this high rate of fire, because the aggression started to burn towards the end there. We saw more jump outs, we saw more of that. We obviously saw in-map aggression and in-map aggressive defensing, but defensing isn't a word, but then it started to propel itself, started to propel themselves physically out of windows and kind of pick body after body after body, and Xav is not going to slow that down. So what we have to see from FAV is more heat, more aggression, more of that.
Well, FAV have played this map a couple more times than Xavier have, and Xavier do have some pretty glaring weaknesses on it themselves. You look onto their attack on this map, and actually the only site that they really have any luck on, I say luck, is the upstairs bomb site. They've actually only lost the attacks on the other two sites that they have played on. That does kind of make it clear, it almost broadcasts what it is that their problems may be, whereas FAV have had a little bit more variety, a little bit more time to practice and see what they can pull out. Now, these first two bans are going to be a Capitan and a Monty. Capitan, of course, we saw that last time. Monty, we did see some, you know, he came up quite a bit in the last map. Might as well, let's get rid of that guy.
I mean, the thing is, yeah, he came up a lot. On the FAV attacks especially. Now obviously they've banned him here and they used him almost every single round, if not every single round, I believe. And he never quite hit the mark for them. He hit the mark once, I'm going to say, maybe twice for Xavier in terms of it. Yeah, they know what they don't want to go up against. And
nope.
To be fair, in the side of talking about teams that did well with shields, FAV did do very well with Clash, even though she was a constant for both teams.
Yes. But
Monty, I would say, FAV played it a lot more and didn't quite find the ground that Xavier did. So I think they said, nah, get him out of here. Get him away from my Oregon. Kid Storms is where we're going to start our fire here. Again, a huge slew of information. We've got the Valkyrie on the board, and obviously the Mirror to hold the lockdown, I say, as she's opted and swapped for...
Maestro. I was actually wondering if it was going to be a Maestro. You can put the Evil Eyes, have one in the attic.
Yeah.
Be able to see who's coming in through there, and also, you know, if you want to impact trick the games room wall, for example, you can have them based in Kid Storms, players that anchor role. Really, really strong operator to have here on this site, so bringing him along, definitely not a bad idea. And one of the things that they did mention there on the desk was the fact that they wanted to see more of this intel game. Now, it's a little bit more about Xavier, because obviously they had kind of problems beforehand in that aspect. But FAV Gaming, being able to have the cameras from the Maestro, from the Valkyrie, is definitely going to be good news for them.
Oh, yeah. It's everything you want to see. And I guess it's everything that we kind of want to bring together here. Locking themselves off in the attic, the Maestro cam, as you said, is going to be the big eyes there. The hold and the cross count are there to stop them being able to quickly move and manipulate across the space. You can't quite catch that one. And the shield placement there from the close window. So it's something where you physically got to get in and inside attic. It is the core and the crux of taking the top floor and taking the dorm sites this time round in the rework. And these are teams that are obviously well aware of this. Both of them have brought victories on this map before, one apiece. Let's see who can take it on the play day today.
So there we go. As I said before, straight away, Map2 positioning himself here in games. That does mean he will be prepared to do the impact trick. He also, of course, has the holes in through the floor down into classroom if anyone from below decides that they want to be going in that way. But it looks like a lot of this push from FAV is going to start off in Big Tower. Fairly unsurprising. They're going to make good work on the wall very quickly, but we have some really aggressive positioning from the defenders up here. DCH holding very far forward. If he can get a kill, which he's not going to even attempt to, instead he's going to be running to safety and just keeping an eye on what's going on. There's that first set of X-Cars as well, which are just going to be shot straight off of the trophy wall.
Well, now Typon is going to try and get close towards the pressure on the back of attic here. DCH isn't quite that far away, but they know they don't need to apply any intense pressure. They have the ADS to keep them alive just a bit. Only one, so it can only burn probably a certain amount. But obviously with Maverick being a constant pick and a huge slew of flash grenades, it's probably not going to last that long. It is the core of your push on this top floor. It is what FAV know they need to apply pressure on, and you can see it starts here. The first gets the shield. An important part you've got to take out, something that you want to destroy before it even becomes close to have any pressure applied against you. Now you've got 15 seconds to wait before you can start phase 2 of this multi-story to push.
Getting into Get some of that, and that's going to be a C4 that's not going to get anything.
That was scary, though.
Straight away. Yep, he managed to narrowly avoid it. He's still not going to be able to do anything really about this game's wall, though, because he's just being watched. It puts Shin in a really difficult position, actually, because, of course, his first set of X-Kairos got completely shot off. He's got Typon for some support now, but straight away going to be shooting in through. That's going to be the utility cleared out from that top part of dorms as well. And this means the Typon can begin to drone in, get an idea. Get shot straight down, just like Red Sun, though, as well.
Well, Red Sun goes down. Obviously, didn't have the best showing last time in certain rounds before, and it's going to start the trend here. A double C4 kill for DCH, looped over the top. Is going to be a big, big boon back into the favor of the defenders. There's another canister that applies the pressure back, and DCH finds his third for the round with only 15 seconds left. Afro and Chloroform have to apply all the pressure and the talents we know they're capable of, but it's a very tough space to do it in. Chloroform from the double window gets one, gets dropped, and with the trade happening on the other side, Scatman swings the round to Xavier.
I mean, the whole layout of that part of the map really sets the defenders up for holding crossfires if there's enough of them remaining. When there's just two of you on the attack trying to push into that, it can be virtually impossible. And that's the problem there that Xavier found that they had. I think one of the big problems as well was simply the issues that they had with the hard breach.
Yeah.
When you're pushing into this site, it's almost like, arguably it's almost like Clubhouse where there's kind of checklists, right? It's like, we open this wall, we open this wall, we come in through these two directions, we push in that way. And if you can't allow yourself the opportunity to be able to get one of those tick boxes on the checklist, it's going to make it so much harder. You do find yourself bottlenecked, you do find yourself caught in crossfires, you do find yourself really struggling to push on into the site. And that's exactly what happened there for the attackers.
Now they head down to the basement. This is obviously a site where I'm sure you guys watching at home have seen that, oh, this has maybe changed a little bit. It was the old familiar, but now there's a lot more space around it to play. And what you'll generally see is much more pressure applied towards the blue side, towards the bunker, towards the central pillar, which becomes a bit of an aggressive dance as we start to see how they pull stuff together. Now, obviously, at the top, there's a slight difference in where the teams are laid out.
The logos may be a bit wrong.
But also, so is the win. So it's just because FAV and Zav have changed from where they were. Xavier were on the blue side last time around.
Just to be clear, Xavier are on the defense.
Yeah.
So you look out for those cheeky clan tags.
Yeah. They're also one map up as well.
Yes. Just ignore the logos. But yeah, no, it's obviously changed now since the Oregon rework. We do have Freezer. Typically you have at least one player will be based in there. Freezer controls a really important part of pushing. Now, some aggressive attacking teams will choose to just rush down into the Freezer and try and clear it out that way. But what we have seen a lot of is a construction push, a tower stairs push, coming in through that way, maybe send one player in down through the laundry stairs to try and get an angle in through that other way. Now, what's going to make it really hard to be able to come in through that south side, especially through the Freezer, is the placement of those mirror windows. Because it can see directly there, it's going to protect those players who are playing in that part of the map. Now, obviously, you'll also have a shield on the other side. In this case, it'll be a Goyo shield, one of those Vulcan shields that make it a lot harder to be able to gain access to the player who may be in Freezer. And having a player there means that if you do start to push into somewhere like Supply, for example, they can get that crossfire across the hallway directly in. So it is something that you want to be clearing out. That said, it doesn't look like Xavier currently have anyone actually based there. This is going to be the first hatch being opened here by FAV Gaming, and it's not usually the one that you go for. Typically, the one in a meeting directly above box will be the first one, and that's what Typon's working on now.
Yeah, steadily making sure that Electric becomes something that you can battle down and aggressively against. It was probably the big central part of how you'd push this back in Deer, and now it's something where you can, play it as part of how you want to push across the entire face. They're obviously going to try and apply the split pressure, and the aggression doesn't quite go in DCH's favor. Comes after the triple last time round, but number two is to make sure that it doesn't go any further. And with a big gun off the board that early, with a huge slew of aggression and still a minute left, it's something that is only really going to play into the favor of FAV. They didn't have to shift what they were doing. Now they know there's slightly less work to do when push comes to shove.
Obviously a big first pick as well, bringing DCH off the board, given what his stats are like. Those smokes going out are going to give FAV the opportunity to move in. Mira really can't see all that much, and eventually you're going to have to take some shots, but with Typon going down to the smoke canisters, that means the diffuser does get dropped. Number 2 should be able to pick it up, but it's all chaos ensuing now. The diffuser gets dropped once again, 30 seconds remaining, and Xavier are going to be losing players too.
Now they're looking for the intense firefight as the shotgun tries its best from a range it's not really built for. More bodies, more X's, and a 2 versus 1 with a pistol swing is something where Xavier picks her back up. The desperation on a man swinging a pistol round from a close quarters. Wow, there's another gun that Jaeger would be great with right now, but he's very limited and he's not seeming like he is. Oh, so close to some phenomenal highlight reel. But even then, a lot of pride in a pistol that went much more of a distance than anyone thought it could.
No, I really think FAV would have been very annoyed there if that had worked out for Xavier in that instance, and that does mean now there is 1 apiece. It was a very aggressive push in the end there. I was talking at the beginning how a lot of teams prefer to come in through the construction side. And what we have seen in APAC is, they hinted at it at the beginning, is sometimes you see the Blackbeard be brought in. It was Talon Esports who kind of popularized that in this instance, but DCH, fantastic Blackbeard player. Maybe we'll see that when they end up going onto their account.
Maybe.
But it obviously wasn't something that FAV decided to go for themselves. Now, actually returning to that same site will be Xavier. They have 6 picked onto the mirror, so they were teasing out a bandit there, trying to give them the idea that there would be some of that wall denial, but no. Doing something very similar. Now, one of the things that really hampered the mirror in that last round was the use of the smokes from the side of FAV Gaming. Obviously, when you bring the Jackal, you have those in pocket, and it meant that you just couldn't see anything as those players started to rush the laundry stairs.
Yeah, and we saw a bit of manipulation of sightlines and space in the previous map, and unfortunately what we never saw from FAV was too much of their attack. Things got shut down quickly on the Dancer Cafe, and we never got to really see the steps they could pull here with the control of sightline, with the smokes, with the canisters, with how they want to actually play. We're starting to actually get a taste of that, and whether it's because it's a map they're more familiar with, for them, or whether it's because it's a map they're more familiar with what Xavier are going to be trying to do and what Xavier are going to try and bring to the firefight. Either way, it's paying off so far. But last time we were 1-1 at the second round again, and I feel like it's another long one in front of us here.
This is really interesting positioning here from Scatman, because the smoke's typically not who you'd have there, but Red Sun's not going to be positioned anywhere. So Goya gets taken down very quickly, and actually Shin makes that a 2K, bringing Map2 down 2. The Vulcan Shield gets 1 kill, and Typon follows things up. The trade coming in, and once again, Fluke, this is so aggressive, we're just Onigiri left. He doesn't last very long. That was a round that lasted about 3 seconds, it fell. I'm so sorry you didn't get a chance to speak.
No, it's fine. I was just kind of blown away with some of the motions that happened there, and this is one of the things that I said I really wanted to see from FAV. Aggression. At the beginning of the map, Xavier started to step it up on their defenses. They were trying to butt heads with FAV as much as possible. They were trying to find themselves into the firefight, and we saw a little bit of kind of trepidation, a little bit of let's be stealthy, let's be sneaky, let's find out. No FAV. Do this, because it's catching Xavier off guard. We saw it there as the smoke rotated back round. He got 1 and then was like, okay, well, they're usually quite slow and steady, gonna reel it. Oh no, I'm dead now. This is what FAV are pushing and thriving in, and I want it to keep stepping up, because I know Xavier are capable of stepping up as well.
What I'm really interested in on this side is obviously we saw FAV struggle on the first round, and a lot of that was because, as I said, the issues they had with the hard breach. The X-Kairos wasn't able to go off on the trophy wall, which in and of itself was an interesting choice. They didn't get the games room wall open, so there weren't that many opportunities for avenues of ingress for the attacking team. But now they've just had 2 successful rounds playing so aggressively with those rushes downstairs. I'm wondering if maybe they'll throw caution to the wind and try and recreate something similar. It would be harder on the upstairs. You have to give them that. It would be harder because of the nature of that bottlenecking, because of how little movement opportunity there is without going through those choke points. But you never know. Maybe they're feeling themselves.
Feeling their oats. 2-1. FAV Gaming, as you find yourself one step ahead of Xavier. Hark our minds back, and this is actually how you were last time. Then it became a bit of a back and forth, and then unfortunately it went downhill. However, obviously you were on your defense last time. You had a little bit more to work with. Here, you have stepped up leaps and bounds, and it is evident in the play. As I said, it's not to say that Xavier aren't capable of more. We know they are, and they've got a little bit comfortable and complacent. They seem to expect what is going to be coming from FAV, and, well, that's leading to mistakes. That's leading to them being punished. They've got to have their heads screwed on a little bit more. It's map 2. We know that they can step it up too. They've just got to do the hard bit of doing it now.
Well, number 2 has been showing up a little bit more, surviving a little bit longer so far than we saw in Cafe. And that's how they've been able to use those smokes very well, making use of the Jackal. If he can keep that one up, then that'll be very great. And you can actually see over in the distance, he's found one of those members of Xavier. Whether or not they can capitalize on that is going to be the next question. Now, once again, DCH is positioned here in the attic. The shield not yet gone down, but those frag grenades will be available on the side of the Maverick once again. So maybe they'll be able to make that work for them.
Going for a spray and pray, but unfortunately they're not falling for that this time, DCH. Now, obviously, as you said, the shield is still up. We saw them drop it quite methodically and quickly last time, but then fell victim to a C4 double kill. They're not going to risk that again. They have been aggressive, sure, but they're not silly aggressive. They know the space that is comfortable and confident to take in, and this is no man's land. This is the most dangerous spot that you could possibly find on this map until a lot of other work has been done, so it's just a death trap to try and run in and try and charge through. Talking of C4, Red Sun, who unfortunately hasn't been able to get his teeth into this game as of yet, is waiting to try and bite at the top of the stairs. Shin is going to be the bit of aggression as it swings around, but, well, that's the response. A quick pop, a quick look over, and no X-Kairos. There was a bit of motion from Hibana there. She used that opportunity to swing round and try and find some escape, baits the C4, but she's found her way in, can potentially apply some pressure onto Walk-In if she needs to, but is instead going to try and take this again and maybe bait the pop-up.
You'd hope that if it is the attempt at baiting, it's going to work, because otherwise you really are just using all that utility. He knows the X-Kairos has gone in, he's going to be able to shoot it off the wall, and look, Red Sun is still standing, and he's going to be moving forward, and he gets the kill. Shin! You could have done so much more. Xavier following up, so much orange filling the kill feed, and just 2 members of FAV standing.
Well, now it's almost all over. It is now. Xavier keep their hold on dorms under their control and keep this map from very quickly spiraling out of the way. And a lot of that goes down to the kind of missteps, the misplays we saw from the Hibana. First of all, let me take a quick moment. Shout out Easy, who is observing this. Wonderful catch.
What a lad.
Love you, Easy. Arguably better than Hap, but that's a different Benelux-based story. Kitchen and dining hall is where we head down to next, and obviously we haven't actually seen this. They're not going to try and dance laundry again. They're not going to get themselves clean, because so far what they've been put through by FAV is filthy.
I'm going to say something controversial. I actually think this might be my favorite site on this map.
Really?
I find it really interesting because so much of it is about how showers is held, right? And you see some teams that they like to relinquish it early. You see some teams hold on for it with dear life, clinging their nails into the side. You see some teams not deal in a lot of wall denial, and that means that it can get open very quickly, which is something we've seen in APAC before. In EU, you're more likely to see so much be invested in holding the walls here in showers. In APAC, not so much. And then obviously you have to have this presence in the showers corridor, and sometimes that can get a lot of things, and sometimes it can get nothing. And so I think there is so much pacing in this round that is dictated by specifically how this one room is held, that can really change the fate of one of these rounds. And a lot of teams are very here, there, and everywhere about whether they actually like this site. And obviously, you know, it being the map's been reworked, people are still trying to figure out what it is that they do enjoy, what they don't enjoy. This is infamously not a very well-liked site. And so
Tertiary sites being well liked. What map do you think this is? What game?
I like to be an optimist.
Yeah, okay. I'll let you have that. I'm not going to argue that. Yeah, it's the thing is
That's
as
what we
well.
call it.
Yeah, back in the day, before it obviously had the rework, it's quite funny how the extension to showers with the castle buying you space and what was the corridor that bisected where showers and where the site itself used to be was the general hold as well, with a bit of vertical pressure and some applied beneath. There is a nice view. There is an open door, and there is number 2. Just gonna wait. Just gonna wait. Hold angle. Let him come.
You know, it's like a jackal versus a castle. If that does turn into a spawn peak and it works, just retire.
Yeah, the Valkyrie was the one that was actually feeding the information, and I think they've gone, leave it, he's a coward. Knocked the door open, they're going to try and bait the play. They're well aware at this point that it's just they're waiting for the movement, uses the time to get out of there, because they've got other more pressing things to do. Most notably, the pressure that FAV is pressing towards the site itself. They're up on the wall, they're trying to get some hard destruction done, but with Mute stopping it, Maverick's going to work a little bit of pressure and alleviate some of that. Scatman is close, but can't quite do any further. However, obviously he has that center core of the showers to manipulate, and he's also got the shield as the extension to use it to swing round. We've seen Scatman do that very, very well before. He's very good at swinging aggressively. He's very good at applying counter pressure and has full confidence to do it. Well, that van almost got blown up. Very, very well-made van. And luckily for number 2, very, very well-made number 2, because he's able to escape Napier, who yet again is just like, come on. Come on.
I mean, he's surviving, but he's still not really anywhere near anything, and there's less than a minute remaining. He's still got a player in security, a notoriously hard place to clear someone out from. Redson actually playing in the corridor isn't behind a shield. That could make him a bit more vulnerable, but still FAV have made the opportunity to move forward. They're not going to get it if that triple kill comes out there from Redson. I said he could be vulnerable, but no, he's not, and now just Chloroform and number 2 remaining. They're the ones who are vulnerable.
Well, last round we said Redson at the beginning hadn't shown up much, does some amazing play and gets the opener, and then from then on leads onto a triple kill here. Oh, Redson? Oh, he's arrived now. Be worried, FAV Gaming. Xavier have a lot of control here. The man who couldn't find any semblance of ground close to the building is on a fraction of health. Chloroform is suffering the same dividends, and now it is just Chloroform trying to find some way to put Xavier to sleep, but unfortunately, they are there, guns blazing, and now, once again, one step ahead.
I'll be honest, seeing where we've seen the strong points from FAV, it really was obvious in that round that they just looked lost on the attack. They didn't know how to approach it. They were so cautious. And this is FAV Gaming. Cautious? FAV? We've seen the best... Milo's just shrugging at me from across the studio. The best attacks that they've had have been their real aggressive ones.
Yeah.
But they didn't feel comfortable doing that. They weren't entirely sure where all these players were. They knew that there was keeping number 2 outside forever because you know someone's upstairs. You know that there is a roam. You're not going to go out and actually clear the roam because you've got to have so much presence over in Small Tower. You've got to be going for showers. You get the wall open, but you're not doing anything about it. And then suddenly castles in your face and guns down 3 of your players.
It's a struggle. It's a tough thing.
It is a
I've
struggle.
heard a famous
Struggle
quote about that, about Castle, struggle tweets, about Castle and that gun being a gun in the game. You will know it at this point.
It is a gun.
Let's talk about Laundry. Let's talk about how so far it has not been a sight for Xavier. But obviously now they've been able to thread 2 rounds in a row. And most notably, as you said, FAV have slowed down a bit. They haven't had the confidence. I remember talking to Fonkers, the great man that he is, and they're talking about how they used to prep. UK Massive. Talk about how they used to prep with Secret, and obviously they did their run and rally. And it was like he would look at a team, and some teams you hold and you wait and you wait and you wait, and then some you push, you push, you push. And that was it. And you've got to look and you've got to see how you can apply that to teams like Xavier, how you can apply that as the aggressive push and the aggressive control that you might be able to take here, because so far, when they have found it, whether the pushing and the pushing and the pushing isn't their play or isn't their strategy, it's worked very well.
You know what I like about this, the change they've made? They brought the Kaid.
Yeah.
This was something they didn't have before. That means they have that hatch denial, notably. So there you go. You can see the security hatch, and you can see the one in the lobby there. So those go down into freezer and laundry, respectively. And that has been a really big source of the aggressive push from FAV so far when they've come to these sites before. Now, they have got a Maverick, but that does mean that he would have to be the one to go for those. Unless you want to go hunt out Electroclaws, but, you know, it's not going to work that way. They don't have a Thatcher, even though he's available. He is an operator that still exists.
I know,
it seems that everyone's forgotten.
Well, okay, see, it's
Thatchy.
like the mirror theory.
Yeah, well, right, this always comes up.
Yeah, exactly. It's the mirror theory. Is teams prep. They have to prep one way, and then they have to prep a backup way if big integral operators aren't on the board. It used to be mirror. She changed the face of Siege as we know it. She obviously allowed it to step into its step 2 at the time, but at the same time, she then became an instant ban when bans kind of came through. So teams who had all their prep done for their A take, they had to pull back, and they realized, well, you know, even if she gets that through, let's just prep a B take without her, because she's going to get banned every single time. It's becoming a thing with Thatcher too, is teams are getting so used to playing without him that, well, they just don't.
So Type 1's going to be starting off on the meeting hatch, which is the one that didn't have the Electroclaw on it. And interestingly, we just saw Shin move into security, go to look at the hatch, and realize it was electrified. And suddenly now, that's a load of time that's going to be shaved off here for FAV. They either ignore the hatches and take the staircases, which is obviously massively risky, or they have to let Type 1 do all of this work. 1 minute remaining.
The worry that I always have with this laundry push is it is so claustrophobic. It's so tight. You find yourself with the backs against the wall in a firing line, and they have a much deeper breadth that they can take to swing onto you and aggressively push against you. Last time they did it physically, DCH tried to run a marathon and get real deep and real aggro against them, but couldn't quite make it land. This time he's obviously playing on the opposite side, and Red Sun, who's had an absolute stormer of a power of rounds, is going to be the one that's going to try and apply the pressure from the opposite side. X-Kairos are blocking some of his sight, but the mute jammers are going to keep it locked down. Hey, Thatcher would be good here, but hey, it's against the turn of play. They're not going to bring him so far. Here comes the drone work, here comes the idea of pressure, but again, it's a couple of firing lines, and they're going to find themselves on the backside. The close push here comes in. There is one, there's a cold diffuser, and there's the second. A great swing round from Red Sun as they start to careen up, but it doesn't even matter, because Xavier lock it off on the opposite side too.
Red Sun on an absolute tear so far. He gets the 3K on the previous round. He gets a 2K there. He's doing really, really well. And obviously, he takes a lot of that hard support role for the team. And we spoke at the beginning about how recently, in this last stage, it has really been the tale of the hard supports. Now, over here in APAC, when you have a look at the highest rated players, a lot of them are the gunners. You've got Hysterics at the top, DCH obviously comes up quite a bit, MV Taylor from Cloud9, another player you see. Those aren't hard supports. APAC is still in the you run, you gun, you have some fun, and you get high rating. But Red Sun is, he's here and he's like, no, I'm sorry, no.
I gotta do some stuff.
I gotta
kill people.
You guys go on. I'm gonna get some blood on my hands.
I'll do some stuff. Now, turn of the half, 4-2. This, okay, to be fair, the 4-2 split isn't the most uncommon thing on Origin. At the minute, it's generally swinging into the defender's favor. This is the common situation you're sat in. We saw it as a 3-3 split last time round on the last map for FAV on their defenses. But again, where they've shined the brightest was quite early on in this, and now we've just had 3 rounds in a row. If they lose this opener one, which is on their primary pick site, obviously they lost their first site in the last map, it could really make them struggle with momentum. It can really pull it out of their favor.
There's a Thatcher!
I know. I saw you excitedly pop it, and then production put this recapture on. Shout out to production as well.
Yeah, shout out to production. I was just tapping really excitedly on the screen, and I did like a full-on, I hate to say it, but a full-on like PogChamp kind of phase. And as soon as I did that, Flute looked over, and then the replay
and then it just blocked it. I'm assuming production did that on purpose, and that's why I thanked them for it. Because
you don't want to see Thatcher?
No, because I want to see you get messed with. 4-2.
Thanks, Flute. Production confirmed it was on purpose.
Now, this is the push that I said is generally, you know, you see this kind of mix of pressure. You don't see in terms of region control, going against the laundry side is a full dig-in. And for the reasons that we saw in that last take, is it becomes this firing line. You have to lock down Freezer. You have to find this split push, like a big letter L, that you kind of slab down on and say, this corner of the L, this is where we're going to get control. This is where we're going to plant. Here, on the opposite side, towards pillars, towards the blue bunker, towards the control you can get here, is a bit more manipulative.
What I find really interesting here is actually typically it's more normal to see the Jaeger in Harry Potter underneath the stairs and the Goyo more towards Freezer, but actually they've switched things around here. That does mean that if those players do decide to start coming down the stairs, Afro is in the perfect firing line to be able to get those shots onto them, and that's maybe why. But if you lose him early, that's a big risk. Goyo can't necessarily rotate over towards Freezer because suddenly you're in the middle of a crossfire and a load of lines of sight, and that could make it easier for the attackers to take Freezer control if they decide to move in that way.
I like that he threw his C4 there, didn't blow it, pulled the man back. Onigiri was a bit confused, then Taibon actually ran up to recollect the C4 and bring it back.
Sorry, I dropped this.
Yeah, I was just, oh man. The 3 C4s though is probably worth drawing attention to. They know how they want to play this, and it's an explosively dangerous range. They're happy to play C4s and explosives on this map. They want to loop those onto potentially the verticals, potentially against the hatches, as we saw them do on Cafe quite a lot. And so far, well, they're still all in pocket. And with a minute left, if the players of Xavier get bunched up or get caught out by this, that could very quickly pull things apart for them.
Yeah, Afro, you've got a tall task ahead of you as they start to move down the Freezer stairs. Is he going to be able to catch these players out? If anyone's going to do it, it's certainly going to be him, but actually Xavier decided they're going to back out a little bit. They've got 44 seconds remaining. They're going to have to decide the point of ingress that they want to take, because so far they've been chopping and changing, and you're going to have to commit. Scatman getting in that kill. That's going to be Type 1 and Make It Shin as well, going down on the side of FAV, and Xavier finally have their way in.
Well, now the pressure comes and Afro gets one back, but oh god, Scatman is able to get one more and swings onto Long for Chloroform to finally put him out of misery. There's another quick swing for Chloroform, and the shotgun comes out but cannot quite catch it. Xavier find themselves one more round in a row.
That was really good. What was that little Scatman thing? Try to repeat that.
They can watch on the VOD.
I can't even repeat it.
They can watch on the VOD. 5-2.
This really took me by surprise.
5-2 we find ourselves in.
Yeah, it's a great position to be in there. Xavier did really well. I mean, I was concerned because obviously they did keep kind of going one way and being like, no, actually, let's try this other route. There was a bit of an ebb and a flow. And then as soon as they got in that first kill, it's like they had people in position to take all these different routes. It was almost like they were trying to convince FAV that they were going to be coming in from various different angles, make them continuously switch their positions, which we did see with Jaeger and Goyo. One of them was Type 1. I don't remember who was on the other one. But either way, we did see them start to switch these positions out. And constantly, they had to be prepared for a push from somewhere.
Yeah.
And you get to the point where it's like, there's not much time left. They're going to have to make a push, but where is it from?
I think that was the thing as well, is if anything, it reminds me of the first round on Cafe. And I said the defense swinging against them and not quite being in their favor was something where, you know, they were under such a huge amount of pressure, and FAV just didn't seem prepared for where Xavier ended up coming from, which was the close dig in on the reading side towards pillars. They applied the pressure from there in Cafe. Here again, as you've said, they were looking at manipulating the space in a different angle, a different method. They were kind of flirting with the dangers of every single option and then decided to swing in aggressively on the final throw. And yet it came down to a 1 versus 1 through a very soft wall and a man with a shotgun that somehow didn't win it. That stuff happens. Unfortunately, this time, that coin and that buckshot fell out of the favor of FAV.
This is the thing. You can't out-shotgun Xavier. It doesn't work that way.
No. They made them? I heard that rumor.
Yeah, Xavier actually invented shotguns.
Invented them.
Yeah, that's what they were.
Way back in the olden days. 5-2. Valkyrie's getting, well, a lot of pressure there. I was about to say have free reign with the cameras, but they're not even going to let her begin.
Got a nice view of. She's filming Bugs Life 2 out there.
Yeah, I love Bugs Life. She's
film.
looking for drones and looking for how they had the intel. There it is. There it goes. You found it. And now you've saved to go on your camera a little bit, but that in no way means that they're not going to apply pressure. If you compare this to how we saw the pressures from this last time, where obviously Xavier were the ones where they were stuck outside for ages, and they were kind of waiting for the motion to come before they could try and apply pressure. Here, well, not so much, as they just instantly, they're being like, okay, there's someone there with cameras, let's just push them. Let's throw ourselves at them, let's try and apply the aggression back towards them, and let's see how it goes from here. There's some predictions that have come up and come true so far. Milosh and Dez, unfortunately things aren't looking great for you, but hey, we got a long time ahead of us.
Ah, it's going to be good. Well, finally this wall's going to start getting opened as Shin gets a kill onto Onigiri. And I think one of the crucial things here is almost the secret weapon here for Xavier was going to be that nurse, right? Because you can kind of get away without her being discovered, or at least so you would hope. But with her going down that early, and as well with, I assume she was carrying the frag grenades too, DCH getting traded out. That leaves just Afro and Typon here on the side of FAV, going up against Red Sun. He's been showing up a lot on this map, so don't count him out just yet, even though he's low health, even though he's still got a plant, and even though these two defenders are above him and have that vertical angle.
Well, the pings are coming out constantly, and he's going to force them down into his firing range. Just hops behind a table, but the smoke canister is going to make it very uncomfortable. Pushes forward aggressively, knows that it's a split fire here, and knows they have the beat and the read on him for everything he's going to do. With 30 seconds, the time is extremely limited. The smoke canister comes out, but there's a great swing from Red Sun, who suddenly went from 0 to 100 there. Everything is ticking in his head as he tries to stick it down one more time. The audio is close, just on the other side of a soft wall. Afro doesn't entirely know that, but here's the clicking now, and there's the pop-up, and there's the pop-down. Afro, if you'd have two players have a showdown with how things are going so far, well, luckily it was Afro in the side of FAV, because anyone else might have been breakfast for Red Sun.
I was impressed that he had enough time to get it down, and I wondered if maybe it was going to be a second bait, and that he'd be able to get that swing. But alas, no. It does mean that FAV keep themselves in a little bit longer. They needed a little bit.
They needed something. They needed what is becoming apparent, obviously, is the kind of shift of momentum. Is obviously that is the first time we've had a break from Xav taking rounds for a long period of time. It was 4 rounds in a row. Now there's something back in their favor. And last time FAV got around, they were able to string 2 together. They were able to kind of build upon it. And they did that before as well on Cafe. And it's something where maybe they're a team where when they start to grow in confidence, they can really build upon that. They can kind of get themselves back into the headspace, get themselves back into the game and go, here's where we can go. It's something that becomes a bit more of a struggle I've heard against aggressive teams because their play style is a bit of frustration. It's nothing you can overtly predict in how it's going to go because, well, they're an aggressive team. They're swinging around on everything and anything and somehow making it work. Now, obviously, we head upstairs to dorms. It's the first time we're seeing it on this turn of the half after seeing it twice before, and well, last time, both times it went to the favor of Xav.
Yeah, I mean, just having a look now, when FAV have played the defense on this site before, they've played it 4 times, they've won 3 times. But as I say that, they've won all the times that they played on Laundry and Supply, and actually Xavier turned that stat around already so far in this series. So clearly they're proving to be the thorn in their side, if that were not obvious enough already. Here on the defense, they're going for actually a kind of interesting lineup. You know, we're not seeing the Maestro that we would typically expect here. We do have the smoke, a little bit more common, but obviously having a Warden and a Pulse, not necessarily who we would expect to see here.
Now, as they put their guns ablazing and point them towards the rotation on Attic, they're playing it passively. I would say more passively than obviously you see a lot of teams play, and obviously more passively than what we saw Xavier play it before. Doesn't seem like it's going to be that big point of interest, though, in the hands of Xavier, who are instantly getting aggressive onto the double window, setting themselves up, dropping the Valk Cam, and pre-firing every which way they can. There's a response. Expected, but the Claymore's there. It buys them a bit of confidence and solidity that they can start to work and construct on the opposite sides. The main being this main entrance window so far. Potentially waiting for some information, but if that Pulse gets that beat and that read on that window, well, that's game, set, and match for the man hanging on the window.
It's actually kind of interesting to be applying the pressure to the big window that early, and perhaps just sending a bit of a message there to FAV, maybe try and influence some of their positioning, which it didn't do all that much, but it could make them question what's going on. Shin's going to be questioning what's going on as DCH secures that first kill onto him. And this is going to be the games room wall starting to get open. This is something that FAV didn't do on their attack. Shin really struggled, not even attempting with this wall, but having it open is going to give so much power to Xavier.
It's one of those things where you can aggressively impact against it, which we saw them prepping for before, but they didn't even try and roll the dice. Here comes the firefight, and there goes Typon, dropped by Onigiri with some great Xavier play. There was another body not too far away, and I'm not 100% sure why number 2 didn't try and get the trade or swing up on that. Obviously has utility potential as well, but maybe they just didn't expect such a lead in an aggression and a response. Maybe this will now play to number 2's favor. Dug in a corner they might not expect them to be in. We've seen that be a suffering point from teams before, and maybe it'll be a suffering point for Xavier again. Now it's a 4 versus 3. They have the man advantage in 30 seconds. Whatever they do, they've got to make it work. And there's the surprise, and there's another one. 2 positively terrible ones if you're a Xavier fan, as they find themselves either side, either corner. Chloroform gets one more, and suddenly it's Scatman alone in the middle of a lot of guns. And unfortunately dropped in dorms, brings us back within only 1 round distance.
And just another disappointing example there of Xavier lacking what should be really basic information.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be running out into lines of sight like that, not expecting a player to be there, because drones exist.
They do.
Right? And so, you know, and just things like that, you should be able to have the information required to lead you safely to the place that you want to be, or at least give you what you need to know that you shouldn't take a certain route. It's really, really basic stuff there that Xavier fell to in Cafe, evidently fell to in this site. And once again, it's just another example of Xavier's attacks looking lackluster despite what we've seen in the past.
Yeah, now they find themselves obviously pushing against what is, again, a tertiary site. Meeting is where we're going to play for the first time today. They're not going to go for the kitchen hole, or they're not going to go for that side there. Going to try and opt to get the big room under lock and key. It becomes a bit of a thing again if you're talking about defaults and you're talking about how a lot of these teams like to push and apply pressure. Tower. Getting control of big tower, getting that lockdown, and getting that kind of flat pressure that you can apply. One of my favorite things to see on this site, though, is the very sneaky plant that some teams try and do. If they enter via garage and they just dig in that little close bit of wall on meeting.
Little cheeky sneaky.
Little cheeky sneaky. Which, if you can play that off and the defense aren't aware, it just, everything unfolds. Because it's not the most common thing to expect. And you know, if I see it, I'll be over the moon, is what I'm saying here. Don't expect to see it, audience. But when it happens,
Sending vibes.
It's well cool.
It's well cool.
It's well cool.
God, let's not. We've been speaking in these accents just to annoy everyone else here.
Yeah.
Dari's giving us a nice look. And it's been really getting on everybody's nerves
Yeah.
all throughout rehearsals. Oh, also the Australian accents to make up for the fact that Jess and Dev aren't here.
Yeah.
By the way, love Jess and Dev. They've
Love
done some
Jess
great
and Dev.
content.
Originally, the joke I was going to lead in on when I was wonderfully introduced by everybody else was that they tried to teleport Jess and Dev over here, and I'm the unfortunate result.
You're the combination.
I'm the combination.
So they got
Things went
spliced.
It's like The Fly, but it's Jess and Dev lead to me being the abomination.
Well, well, well. We'll see if Xavier's attack ends up continuing to be an abomination as well, as they haven't had the best of luck.
God
You
damn.
right there?
That's spicy. That's spicy. A little bit peppery. As they look towards the hatch, they know where they want to get open, and it's vertical control over again. This beautiful bit of attic. It becomes such a core of these top 2 floors, obviously, as it leads straight into the beating heart of the dorm site, but here it leads straight over the top of meeting. A very nice place to try and set yourself up for this plant. And you can see, as I said before, tower control is your usual, is your default, and they're going to make sure that they have that all under lock and key. There's the opener. The one that's slightly higher is so they can get a big angle whilst they're on the T2 stairs to lean straight across all the way to the back. The other one, obviously, it's to go through, guys. You don't need me to tell you that. Deep grenades go to the opposite corner to try and get Typon, who has dug into the default plant, the kind of off-the-piste plant spot that I love so much. But the battle of throwables starts and kicks off. And, well, so does you hope the information Typon's going to feed and say, hey, guys, found them.
Found him, got him. Yeah, no, it's a good start here for Xavier, as obviously they have been able to get open that wall, but still all of the defenders standing. 1 minute remaining. They're going to have to clear some of that out if they are to hope to get anything. But as I say that, Scatman's going to go straight in with the diffuser, and he's not being stopped. It looks like it's going to get all the way in, and that's exactly what happens. Xavier start to get some of those kills, and now FAV find themselves in a post-plant situation.
Unbelievable scenes as he just crept in, got it behind. An unfortunate time for the rotation from Typon, but it went completely unaware with all of the firefight and the pressure coming from the backside. And this is a really tough retake, especially as there is a man on that diffuser. I repeat, there's a man on that diffuser. He gets one down, doesn't get the second. There is the angle, but it's completely pushed apart by Afro, who is doing more than bits as he battles back. There is a rotation coming through, which can really pull things together. There goes Afro, there goes one more, and there goes the planter! Unbelievable from Map2.
That's why you bring an F2. That's all I'm going to say. No, fantastic game or play or round or whatever you want to call it there from Xavier. They were assertive. They didn't hang around. They didn't wait to see what the defense were going to do, which was my concern. I was thinking, you haven't cleared anyone out. Everyone's going to be able to do it. It's a really open room. They're just going to shoot you. Apparently not.
Apparently not.
Apparently not. No, that was a great example there from Xavier. I was worried that their attack was starting to fall short a little bit, but they played that one really well. And, you know, things like the wall denial didn't matter so much. Bringing the bandits, obviously you did have the shock drones that were able to get rid of any of those batteries as required. They opened up the wall into meeting as required. They got those angles they needed as required. They got down the diffuser so quickly as required. I mean, really the big issue there was the fact that FAV didn't stop that while it was happening.
Yeah, and obviously you've got to give credit to the creativity in both the rotations. It was like the no you to the no you. It was they got in, got the plant down. There was the first no you of the unbelievable play from Afro on the Jaeger that pushed through, got a double. I believe it maybe led onto a triple as they swung around onto the stage. But then, oh, there's another Uno reverse card on the board. And it's come from behind, and it's come from this big rotation of Map2. And it's just a fantastic response to, again, expectation. They expected the close down to come back from their side. They expected this pressure to return from split, from the opening and the big old entrance of meeting. And what you see on the right is just, it's poetry in aggressive, bullet-ridden motion.
Now, I really like this that FAV Gaming is setting up right now, because it's like they're setting up so that #2 can have this roam really to himself and make the most of it. Obviously, the castle barricades will make it so much harder for Xavier to be able to move around freely up on this first floor, as they were obviously will hope to open up a number of those like hatches, whatever it may be. Security hatch has actually obviously been opened there. It looks like Shin is maybe going to be playing in security. That's going to make it harder for the attackers to be able to rush down Freezer, if that's something that they want to do. The lobby hatch has been reinforced, so that's going to be an opportunity. But Afro, goodbye to your castle. The barricades remain, but the player does not.
Wow, that was a very quick take, and whether Afro was caught entirely unaware whether that was a firefight, either way, you cannot give DCH an inch for they take a mile. And the mile is usually from your skull. Now that's a big operator off the board and a big player, because obviously we've seen Afro do a lot. Red Sun, however, decides to keep it even and blow himself up.
Well, you know.
It's fair, I know.
He's been doing too much for the team. He's got to try and even it out, especially as we are on match point, right? You know,
you're allowed that.
You want to make it exciting. It's a best of 3. You want to make the most of it, right?
Yeah. Now, obviously, it's down to Xavier to try and apply the collapse and the pressure that they need to. With Maverick off the board, well, that means that some hatches and some angles might be a little bit tougher, but you've obviously still got Hibana, and you still have a huge amount of gun skill. Oh, and who's that guy? It's Thatcher. He can do great work if he needs to try and get control of these jammers and, you know, try and lock down the hard destruction, the hatches, without having to be too hyper-aggressive. Talking of, #2, chilling, waiting, hanging about.
I like his positioning a lot. It might go to waste a little bit, as obviously Hibana's downstairs here opening up the wall from blue, and that means there won't be that attention being paid onto the laundry hatch, which is obviously what #2 is waiting for. He wants to be sure that that's not going to be done, and that none of that hard breach is going to be opening up the hatch. Instead, so much of the attention is already placed downstairs. Xavier. 4 members on the board, but going up against 4 themselves. Number 2 being incredibly low at this point, though.
I want to lean into my screen right now and
we're
just like getting really close. As the diffuser goes down, that's the moment you probably should stay on that bullet hole, because that's when it could have really got a kill. One apiece in the meantime, but we're in a post plant and it's a 3 versus 1. Onigiri tries and unfortunately fails to dance around the pillar with a pistol only left. As FAV, they collapse back in, this time successfully, and keep themselves 1 round away, but still 1 more left to do if they want any hope of staying in this APAC major.
Yeah, managed to claw themselves into surviving the match point, unlike what happened on Cafe Dostoevsky, of course. But it's still very, very close here. Obviously, if they lose this map, they lose the series. Xavier already have 1 under their belts. So, kids' dorms, that's going to be the next one that we head on up to. FAV look like they're going to be playing a lot more standard. You know, earlier on in this half, we noted how they brought a Warden and a Pulse.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit obscure. They did actually win that round.
They did.
But it was still a little bit obscure this time. Well, actually, I look back and Pulse has been 6 picked on. But still, you actually have all of this extra information now, because not only do you have the Evil Eyes and the Black Eyes, but you also have the Cardiac Sensor, which really, to stay consistent, should be called something eye. Wall Eyes.
Cool Eyes.
What?
Say Cool Eyes.
Yeah, because only cool
It's
people
Cool
have
Eyes.
them.
It's Ace. Dockerby. She's on the board for the first time. Dockerby's on the board for the first time. And I think it's a very good pickup here from Xavier. A, it's a very good gun. But B, look at the struggle that they're having in just getting the tiny last bit of pressure that they need to apply on the defenders when they're dug in to cause them to fall into the firing line. We've seen it time and time again, is they know exactly where the FAV players are, but they need just a little bit more to allow them to swing round, to allow them to just push them out of their position, make them feel uncomfortable, and maybe take them by surprise, because it's how well known that they are, that they're in these close positions. If they can get a semblance of swinging in and taking them by that surprise, Xavier can lead behind that very, very well.
I think it is a very interesting thing as well, because obviously Xavier, we've noted a number of times some of the issues that they've had with gaining intel on their attacks. Obviously Dockerby brings a fairly unique way of gathering intel that means it's not just about shooting a drone that someone throws out, you actually have to kill the person themselves. So that means that, you know, Map2, if he can win out these gunfights or receive some protection from some of the other players on his team, can last a little bit longer and also be able to provide more to the team, especially if they're going to be playing aggressively, like you said. Starting things off with droning, of course, they want to be sure that there's none of that roam game that's being brought out by the defenders, and that will give them a little bit more assurity as they start to move in.
Popping the defaults and heading round on the far side means that they can try and get some of the control that they need over this map. Something that we've consistently talked about when I talk about defaults is the information game that we've seen from both teams. It is much better controlled, I would say, on this map from both teams. Obviously, Cafe was a bit more of a wild child, but here, the use of droning towards the economy of the drones, definitely much better from both teams. They've been able to not completely throw them away in the desperate hope of finding people, but hey, you can also just do that. Map2 blows the head off of Afro with a very big gun that, well, that reveals the 6th pick.
That's certainly one way of looking at it, but none of these players are going to be stunned out here as Onigiri sends in the lifeline, and that means Xavier can begin to move in through Attic. I'm very intrigued as well by the fact that Shin's not really anywhere to be found. Red Sun neither, as he gets traded out there, and it's a constant backwards and forwards right now. In fact, Shin is just one of those remaining players there with number 2. You see, he's going to be using those cameras to be providing the information over to his fellow comrade as they try and defend this side against the 3 incoming players, but Scatman's getting down the diffuser. This could be it.
Well, 3 rounds in a row, we've seen the diffuser go down, and Scatman goes down too. Shin, with a big gun that kept on pressing and pressing and pressing, is able to find something, but the calls go out. You can see the diffuser is in a very hot situation right now. Both teams either side as they circle around it and see if they can just try and close the gap and close the distance. Flash grenades go off. Best time to use your utility. Unfortunately, it completely catches number 2, but nobody else does. Number 2 somehow survives. Swings on the shotgun, but Map2 swings back, and Xavier swing their way up through this bracket.
Fantastic game there between these two teams, and I think even though it was a 2-0 there to Xavier, what we did see is a significant amount of fortitude, amount of pressure, aggression come out from FAV, and a lot of really good gameplay that just simply got outshadowed by the end. And one of the more satisfying things I have to say that we did say was the fact that Derry got proved wrong.
Ha 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 ha. We'll talk to him about that a little bit later, but